I want to talk about a number of things that has taken place within political circles at the minute. And I know people are sick to the back teeth of people like us talking about funding and not getting funding. And that's quite understandable. Even though today we see something like 100 to 140 million being given out to sport. Now, I'm not against sport. Matter of fact, I enjoy football and I enjoy rugby. But there's something like 60 odd million has went to the GAA. Guts of 60 million has went to the GAA. Now, has anybody ever went around the grounds of the GAA in areas like Tyrone and South Armagh and other parts, I'm sure, Fermanagh? Some of them are better than hotels. They have the best facilities as far as the youth and all goes, and fair play to them. They have been receiving funding for years from different organisations and raising money themselves. But the fact is, look at what they have. They have the best of everything going. But somehow or another, some fool somewhere has decided, let's give them another 60 million, while the health board is a choking for funding. Now, is there something wrong, or is there something wrong? Now, these are the same grounds that worship the past history of what the IRA did. Name their grounds after terrorists, run venues at their locations to support terrorism, and especially in South Armagh and in Tyrone, they have the tricolour flying from their premises. Now, this is British taxpayers' money that's been given to these organisations that have got the best facilities going. Now, I can understand with the soccer, they have a lot of the football clubs have very little. Some of them don't even have changing rooms. But it's not the same with the GAA. So I would ask why nobody within our political circles is raising that issue. You talk about victims. Okay, let's say that you're sick listening to victims. Why give 60 million to an organisation that's coming down with money, that supports terrorism, that has supported the butchery of our community? Somebody needs to answer that question. Now, with ourselves at the minute, let me explain to you where we're coming from. I don't want sympathy, and the victims are not looking sympathy from anybody. Nobody came to our aid to assist us. We stood our ground. We took what was given to us. We carried the coffins down the road. We lifted the bits of the bodies off the road. We took that and we stood our ground. Promises were made to us by our politicians and they were broken. The DUP now are involved, and they're not like this, but it's fact. I'm at the minute sitting in a situation where we're trying to run an organisation whereby for 35 years we have lived through the worst of the troubles and have suffered far greater than most areas of Northern Ireland. And people will say, dry your eyes and get on with it. Well, we would dry our eyes and get on with it if we were to be treated equally and fairly. But we're not being treated equally or fairly. Whenever it comes to government, we warned the DUP not to allow the victims into the office of OFM, DFM. What will happen? They will try and persecute us because we are the people that they murdered and maimed. We are their conscience and they want rid of our conscience. I never ever thought I would see the day that a number of DUP politicians would quite happily help Sinn Fein IRA to try and destroy a group like this. They may not agree with what we have to say or like what we have to say, but I believe we've earned the right as victims. We've earned the right to say what we believe. And people will say, well, who says you haven't? Well, why did the office of the First Minister write to one of our funders about the Hillsborough Agreement, what our view was on it, and how were we allowed to put it on the website? I'll say that again. The DUP writ to CRC, and we have this under the Freedom of Information, and demanded for us to remove our view on the Hillsborough Agreement from a website. Now, I've seen too many bodies on the road, I've carried too many coffins to simply change my view because it's the DUP. At the minute, we have 4 people who are slowly going blind. Now, them people have suffered greatly through the Troubles. Now, we're doing our best to help them all we can, but we haven't got the resources. Things that them people would like to do, places they would like to go where they never went. We're never out of South Armagh, someone. We can't take them because we haven't got the resources. Now, that's only one example of how we're being dealt with, of how we're supposed to forget the past. The DUP and OFM, DFM are doing all they can along with Sinn Féin to try and close us down. We didn't choose to be victims, and we certainly did not choose to put the people who butchered us in charge of us. Why will the DUP not stand up and help an area like South Armagh? You know, and I have to be truthful here, there is 1 or 2 in the DUP who are genuine and who are trying to do something, but the majority of them are not. They're ignoring it. They hate my guts. Well, that's fair enough, I don't mind, but that is no reason for to take it out on the pensioners, on the people who are disabled, the people who are going blind, the people who know they have very little time left in this world. They're persecuting them. And it's bad enough that the IRA are doing it, but we've now got Sinn Féin DUP alliance which think they can get rid of us. But let me tell you this, it doesn't matter if we have fun or no fun. We're not going to go anywhere. And these people, the more they persecute us, the more they get our backs up. And instead of our organisation going away, it's getting bigger. They're trying to tie us into another situation that's going on in this town with another organisation who has been accused of fraud. Well, they have to bear the brunt and the responsibility of what happened up there. Willie Irvin says he's done a lot for victims in South Armagh. I do know this, he hasn't done it for the victims involved with Fair, and I do know that the majority of the victims are connected to Fair in South Armagh. So I don't know who he's been helping. It certainly was not Fair, and it certainly was not the victims connected to Fair. You are now sitting with the people who butchered us. You are now helping the people who butchered us to persecute us. And there's no simple way to say that. And it'll not go down too well in certain political circles. But I'll stand over what I have to say. I'll debate this with anybody from the DUP. I'll debate it with our local representative, Willie Irvin. He says he's done this and he's done that. Behind closed doors, they're saying, dry your eyes and get on with It's time these victims moved on. They're keeping us in the past. I'll debate it with the MPs. David Simpson is the MP, the closest one to this area. Anybody you want to put forward, we'll debate what is going on. But Wally Fraser is going to be starting to be outside the doors of these people, to make them aware of the effects that they're having on the victims. And we will start to protest, we will start to raise awareness of what is happening, because they'll pump the millions into the prisoners and into the Republican organisations in South Armagh, and not one of our politicians, not one, will raise a question about what is going on with these funders, or why was Fair's funding passed from CRC in Belfast to Monaghan across the border to be dealt with by a southern funder. Well, we're going to ask the questions, and we're going to start to ask the DUP questions, and they mightn't like what we have to say, but I've sat back for long enough. I cannot watch the tears running down the faces of some of our elderly victims, and indeed some of the people who was in the wheelchairs, and they feel that they can't ask for help because of the pressure that has been put on this organisation. Well, I'm not going to sit back and watch them suffer and be persecuted any longer. We can't sit back any longer. Like, is there not a decent bone in these people's body where they'll turn around and say, listen, these victims need help. This needs to be sorted out. And there may have been an organisation that did wrong, but it certainly wasn't fair. It was not families acting for innocent relatives that done it. I have had the offers, I have had the bribes, I have had the offers of the decent jobs, 60 and 70,000 out over the years. I've had the bribes about going away. What do you need, Willie? What can we do for you to go away? I didn't take them. So now they're trying the other avenue of starving the people that we're actually trying to help. Well, we're not going to sit back and let it happen. We didn't sit back when the Provies tried to drive us out of our community. We're not going to sit back any longer and allow Sinn Fein, DUP, OFM, DFM to persecute the innocent victims. And people can say, get on with it, dry your eyes, forget about it. Well, I would say this to you. Why is there 60 million going into the Gaelic, the GAA? Can they not get on with it? Why do we have to sit with people who are going blind, and the best we can do is take them for a cup of coffee? Forget about the politics of this. That's what I'd like to say to you. Forget about the politics of what's going on politically. I'm talking about OFM, DFM, where DUP and Sinn Féin are working together, and where we warned the DUP that this would happen in the future. We warned them a number of years ago, but they ignored us. They agreed with us. They actually agreed with us and said under no circumstances could victims go under the control of the very people who butchered them. But they went back on their word. So no longer are we going to sit back and watch people dry the tears from their eyes without making people aware of what exactly is going on. And there's one thing I can tell you, there's not a penny, not one penny has been misspent by this organisation. Any money that came to this organisation went to the victims, and indeed the committee of this organisation have put their hand in their pockets and they've raised money, they've tramped the streets to raise money. They've got up at 5 o'clock in the morning to go to car boot sales, and it's raining on them. So don't tell me about the sacrifice being made or about where money goes or money doesn't go, when you can give 60 million to the GAA and you give nothing to the victims.